Hey everybody, it's Mr. Marshall at Stony Lane. I know that you and your class have been studying fairy tales, right? That's a genre of literature, and you've been learning how to read them, and you're going to study how to write them probably. And so, what I want to show you today is how, when you're little, you read a fairy tale in a way where you're like, "Ooh, what's going to happen? Ooh, what's going to happen? Ooh, what's going to happen?" Right? But when you're big the way you are, you start to think about fairy tales and kind of like themes of fairy tales or things that always happen in fairy tales, right? Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to read a story that you're probably going to be rereading because you probably know the story already. And you're going to be thinking about a certain thing when you're rereading it. Okay, in this story, one of the things we're going to think about is that in fairy tales, a lot of times there's an evil character, okay, a bad guy, somebody that grown-ups call an antagonist. Can you say that with me? An antagonist. And so what I want you to do is think about what the antagonist does in this story. And I want you to think about how in the end the antagonist loses. Okay? Let's watch. Let's see what the antagonist of the story is and what happens to him. Ready? So this is Little Red Riding Hood. I know you know the story probably. You've probably heard it a lot of times. Let's listen and think about what happens to the antagonist or the evil character. Little Red Riding Hood. This book is written in a way where it's got sign language to help tell the story. So that's there, but we're not going to really pay attention to the sign language today. We're going to be paying attention to the story itself. Okay? Little Red Riding Hood lived in the forest with her mother. One day, her mother said, "Your grandmother is sick. Take her this basket of goodies." No antagonist yet, right? So far, the characters are good people, right? Little Red Riding Hood kissed her mother goodbye and walked happily through the woods to grandmother's house. Suddenly, a big, bad wolf. You knew he was coming, right? A big, bad wolf appeared. Little Red Riding Hood was frightened, but the wolf said sweetly, "Hello. What do you have in that basket?" So that's our antagonist, right? The big bad wolf. He's the bad guy. He's the antagonist. He's the evil one, right? But you know what I'm thinking here? He's not acting evil, even though he's kind of scary looking, right? And Little Red Riding Hood is frightened. It says, the book tells us she was frightened. But he said sweetly, "Hello." You know, that's making me think. It's making me think that sometimes the evil character is so evil that he tries to be sneaky about it. What do you think? He's doing that, right? Should she trust him? Oh, of course not, right? He's the big bad wolf. So let's keep going. "I'm taking some goodies to my grandmother," she replied. "Oh, and where does your grandmother live?" asked the wolf. He's still acting nice, but he's not nice, right? You know what he wants to do, right? He wants to eat her. "In a house at the edge of the forest," said Little Red Riding Hood. And the wolf left and ran quickly to grandmother's house. Now he's acting evil, right? So it's funny how this antagonist pretends to be good, but he does something bad, right? Let's see what he does. He knocked at the door. Look at that face. Look at that face. Look how hungry he is. He knows he's going to eat something or someone. "Come in," said grandmother. So in he went. And when grandmother saw the wolf, she screamed and ran into the closet. He's not pretending to be good now, is he? He's scaring her, right? So it's funny how the evil character sometimes acts nice and sometimes acts evil, right? Depends depends where he is and who he's with, right? The wolf put on the grandmother's clothes and he climbed into her bed and waited for Little Red Riding Hood. Now he's being really evil, right? He's being sneaky. He's trying to trick Little Red Riding Hood, isn't he? That's pretty evil. Soon Little Red Riding Hood arrived at the door. Come in, said the wolf softly. There he is, acting nice, but he's really being sneaky again. I think that's the kind of evil he is. He's a sneaky kind of evil, isn't he? Like he does that in the beginning, where he's like, "Oh, where does your grandmother live?" And now he's acting like he's the grandmother. He dresses up in her clothes. Little Red Riding Hood tiptoed to the bed and said with surprise, "Oh, grandmother, what big eyes you have!" "The better to see you with, my dear," answered the big bad wolf. He's still being sneaky, right? He's still pretending that he's the grandmother. He's being sneaky in a different way than before, but he's still being sneaky, right? "Oh, grandmother, what big ears you have!" The wolf smiled. See, like evil people don't smile. They're kind of like, right? They have this like evil looking face, but he's smiling because he's trying to be sneaky. "The better to hear you with, my dear." "Oh, grandmother, what big teeth you have!" "The better to eat you with, my dear," cried the wolf. See now, is he being sneaky? No, he wants to eat her, right? And he's not hiding anymore because she's right there and he can right? He jumped out of the bed and chased the frightened girl all around the room. Now the evil is really like unleashed. You can really see it. "Help! Help!" she screamed. "Save me!" A hunter heard Little Red Riding Hood scream. He burst in through the door. He lifted his gun and shot the wicked wolf. Yep, Little Red Riding Hood was very happy. She hugged the hunter, and then grandmother came out of the closet. She kissed Little Red Riding Hood again and again. "I'm so happy that Wicked Wolf didn't eat you," she said. That evening, Little Red Riding Hood, her grandmother, and the hunter had a party, and they ate all the goodies in the basket. And that is the end. So, did you see that? And did you see what happened in the end to the big bad wolf? He didn't get his way. He lost. He got shot. Sometimes in this story, the way it's retold, he just runs away, never to come back again. And sometimes this happens, and that seemed kind of like scary, but it's just a story, right? So, but in the end, the evil character, the antagonist, didn't get his way. So that's something that you can read and notice when you're reading fairy tales, is that there's sometimes an evil character called an antagonist, and he doesn't get his way. He gets something bad happen to him, because that's what happens in fairy tales. And the good characters have good things happen to them in the end. Okay? So pay attention for that when you're reading fairy tales, and I'll see you next time.